everyone. We'd love you to take your seats. We'd love to start in a few seconds. Thank you. Merci de prendre place.
We can all get some. Put the money in your pants. We can all get some. Put the money in your pants. We can all get some. Put the money in your pants. This right here is the tale of Banks and Conley, the two greatest outlaws America's ever seen. They tied the sheets, smack downtown. Jails can't hold these fellas down. Banks had the loot stashed in the safe in the backyard in the Buckeye State. He picked and picked, moonlights the air. Work that back for the lion's share. 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 They both got lost love in the air. We're all in search of the lion's share. We're all in search of the lion's share. So work that back for the lion's share. Give me the lion's share. Put the money in your pants. We can all get some. Put the money in your pants. We can all get some. Put the money in your pants. We can all get some. Put the money in your pants. We can all get some. So work that back for the lion's share. Work that back for the lion's share. So work that back for the lion's share. 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 Get the loot, call for kindly. Lovers live in this economy. Let's all get lost, love in the air. We're all in search of the lion's share. We're all in search of the lion's share. Dance, the booty in your pants. Yo, run, we can all get some. Yo, dance, the booty in your pants. Run, we can all get some. Dance, the booty in your pants. Run, we can all get some. Dance, the booty in your pants. Run, we can all get some. Dance, the booty in your pants. Yo, run, we can all get some. Yo, dance, the booty in your pants. Run, we can all get some. Dance, the booty in your pants. Run, we can all get some. Dance, the booty in your pants. Run, we can all get some. This right here is the tale of Banks and Conley, the two greatest outlaws America's ever seen. They tied the ropes, down they went, and all they found was sheets in the wind. Oh, they were blown out the 20th floor, smack downtown. They changed their clothes from white to brown. Caught a cab and headed south, way out to Conley's grandma's house. The trail was hot, you can't stay. Granny turned them both away. They split up separate ways, been on the lam about 10 days. They busted out, love in the air. We're all in search of the lion's share. We're all in search of the lion's share. We're all in search of the lion's share. Put the money in your pants. We can all get some. Put the money in your pants. We can all get some. Put the money in your pants. We can all get some. Put the money in your pants. We can all get some. Put the money in your pants. We can all get some. Put the money in your pants. This right here is the
Votre Altesse Sérénissime, Excellences, Mesdames, Messieurs, oui, je pense qu'on peut applaudir ce petit film d'introduction to introduce the 9th Forum of Peace and Sport. C'est un plaisir de vous accueillir ici au Fairmont. On a du travail aujourd'hui. We have a lot of work to do. Je vais vous demander de couper vos téléphones. Just cut your cell phones, please, and use the headsets for the translations. We have our translators ready for you. Nous allons pouvoir donc débuter. Deuxième chose extrêmement importante qu'il va falloir faire tout au long de cette journée, on va parler en français, en anglais, voire en arabe, donc n'hésitez pas, prenez les traducteurs. Vous avez une application. Cette application, elle va vous être montrée. Cette application, c'est la vôtre. Application Peace and Sport. There is an app Peace and Sport. And if you want to ask questions to our panelists, you can do it from the app. The best questions will be voted and will be asked to them at the end of the debate. We'd love to have debates. We'd love to find solutions. So I ask you kindly, because it's a free place here, and you have the word. You can take the floor. So just please do that. We want to find solutions for peace through sport around the world. Et nous avons besoin de vous. Voilà, cette application, vous l'avez, elle est facile donc à retrouver. Donc n'hésitez pas à le faire. Tout de suite, je vous propose de rentrer dans le premier débat parce qu'on a besoin justement d'être à l'heure. Et il va y avoir plusieurs débats. Et on commence avec de la diplomatie. Regardez. Diplomatie par le sport pour faire tomber les barrières. Comment faire tout cela? Eh bien, pour poser justement ces bases, je vous propose d'accueillir ici celui qui connaît très bien ces zones conflictuelles et post-conflictuelles et qui adore le sport et qui va justement nous permettre d'avoir un regard un peu plus éclairé là-dessus. C'est tout simplement le directeur de l'Institut international de recherche justement en Strategic Affairs, like we say in French, Monsieur Pascal Boniface, sous vos applaudissements, qui vient nous rejoindre et qui donc va poser les bases. Bonjour Pascal.
Votre Altesse, Mesdames, Messieurs, c'est toujours un plaisir, un honneur de venir à Monaco pour participer à cette 9e session de Peace and Sport. Et on voit tout le travail depuis 9 ans qui a été accompli. Et donc bravo à Joël Beaujou, à toute son équipe pour la formidable contribution qu'ils font. Le monde est en crise, il suffit d'ouvrir le journal pour le voir. Le problème, c'est qu'il y a de plus en plus de puissance pour détruire et de moins en moins de puissance pour stabiliser. Et que donc les forces de destruction l'emportent souvent sur les forces de construction et de stabilisation. L'ordre ancien que l'on connaissait, qui permettait de stabiliser par négociation entre superpuissances les conflits, a disparu. Mais l'ordre nouveau n'est pas né encore. C'est donc la crise, puisque nous sommes dans un entre-deux, avec un virage manqué à la sortie du monde bipolaire, où nous n'avons pas été capables, où la communauté internationale n'a pas été capable de construire ce nouvel ordre mondial que l'on célébrait, mais que l'on n'a pas mis en pratique. Et de fait, du coup, il n'y a pas réellement une réelle sécurité collective, et il n'y a pas non plus une paix impériale, parce que le pays le plus puissant ne peut pas imposer son ordre. Donc, que peut faire le sport dedans ? Quelle est la contribution que le sport peut amener pour essayer de limiter les conflits, d'amener la paix et de réconcilier les communautés? Il ne faut pas avoir l'illusion de penser que le sport est une baguette magique qui permettra de tout résoudre. Non, le sport n'est pas suffisant pour mettre fin à la guerre civile en Syrie ou à ramener la paix entre Palestiniens et Israéliens. Mais le sport contribue à limiter les effets les plus négatifs des conflits et également à pouvoir donner des perspectives. Et il l'a fait historiquement et il le fait de plus en plus. Juste un exemple, si je demande à cette assistance qui connaît Andrew Holness, peu de gens lèveront la main. Si je dis qui connaît Usain Bolt, tout le monde se dira oui. Et donc, le sportif le plus connu de ce pays est plus célèbre dans le monde et peut apporter une contribution plus que le responsable politique de ce pays. Parce que le sport a pris une importance dans la société, aussi bien nationale qu'internationale, à nulle autre pareil. Le sport est devenu un fait social et sociétal total. Lors des premiers Jeux olympiques, il n'y avait que 14 nations et 241 athlètes. Aujourd'hui, on doit limiter, on ne limite pas le nombre de nations qui participent, toutes sont représentées. C'est ça le véritable universalisme, parce qu'aucune nation n'est exclue du monde du sport et tous les athlètes peuvent y participer, quelle que soit leur religion, quelle que soit leur couleur de peau, quel que soit leur genre, quelles que soient leurs orientations personnelles, politiques ou professionnelles. C'est ça le véritable universalisme et finalement, le monde du sport permet une véritable communauté internationale que l'on ne voit pas dans d'autres domaines. La communauté internationale, c'est un peu le monstre du Loch Ness, tout le monde en a entendu parler, peu de personnes l'ont vu réellement, mais le sport la réalise, le sport la met réellement en exergue parce qu'il réunit tout le monde. Historiquement, le sport a contribué à pacifier les relations internationales, et c'est d'ailleurs l'optique du baron de Coubertin qui disait que le sport était apolitique, mais lorsque l'on veut contribuer à pacifier les relations internationales, c'est vraiment un objectif politique majeur, réel. Dans la lutte contre l'apartheid, dans la lutte pour la décolonisation, dans la lutte pour l'émancipation des femmes, dans la lutte pour la reconnaissance des minorités raciales, le sport, en permettant à chacun d'être ce qu'il est, d'être lui-même, d'être uniquement par le talent et le travail, le sport a toujours apporté sa contribution. Et aujourd'hui, du fait de sa médiatisation, du fait que tout le monde entend parler des sports, que des Jeux Olympiques et la Coupe du Monde, tout le monde entier, des milliards de téléspectateurs et de spectateurs regardent cela, que la télévision a permis de créer un stade à la capacité d'accueil illimitée où chacun peut prendre un siège et regarder en même temps cet événement. Et donc le sport fédère tout simplement parce qu'au même moment, chacun est devant la même contribution. On parle beaucoup de puissance. Il y a la puissance ancienne, la puissance dure, le hard power, la capacité d'imposer aux autres sa volonté. Et puis il y a surtout la puissance douce, le soft power. Et le sport est devenu l'axe majeur du soft power. Parce qu'en sport, la puissance, elle n'est pas rejetée, elle est admirée. On n'aime pas trop les puissances stratégiques qui veulent imposer leur ordre aux autres nations. Mais lorsque un champion domine sa discipline, lorsque dans un sport collectif, une équipe réussit particulièrement, elle ne suscite pas le rejet, elle suscite le respect, l'admiration et l'envie. Et partout dans le monde, des enfants auront la photo sur le mur de leur chambre de sportifs, même s'ils n'ont pas leur nationalité, même s'ils n'ont pas leur religion, même s'ils n'ont pas leur couleur de peau. Et donc le sport affranchit des barrières territoriales, des barrières politiques et effectivement des barrières ethniques. C'est un formidable facteur d'unification du monde sous une même barrière, parce qu'en sport, l'autre est nécessaire pour commencer la compétition, pour vaincre, mais la victoire n'est jamais définitive, et l'autre n'est pas un adversaire, l'autre est un partenaire. Et donc l'autre mérite le respect, et donc c'est une sorte de patriotisme soft que le sport introduit, parce qu'on montre le drapeau, bien sûr, on est fiers chacun de son drapeau, mais on sait que ce drapeau n'a aucune signification s'il n'est pas accompagné des autres drapeaux, et si tous ces drapeaux ne sont pas mélangés dans ce grand défilé que l'on a, par exemple, à l'ouverture des Jeux Olympiques ou à la clôture des Jeux. Nous sommes ici à Monaco, qui est à la fois une capitale diplomatique, une capitale sportive, et en même temps un lieu neutre où chacun peut se rencontrer, où chacun peut, dans un espace de liberté, et c'est le 9e forum Peace and Sport, et à chaque fois ça a été des succès parce que la parole est libre. Les avis peuvent diverger, on cherche ensemble des solutions, on cherche ensemble du local et du global, et on trouve des solutions. Nous avions eu l'honneur et le plaisir d'avoir 3 prix Nobel de la paix hier à la cérémonie d'ouverture. Regardez ce qu'a fait le CIO en permettant à des réfugiés de participer sous une bannière aux Jeux Olympiques. En intervenant finalement, en permettant à des gens qui étaient réprimés chez eux de pouvoir se représenter et finalement en faisant un progrès pour les droits de l'homme. Et peut-être d'ailleurs que le CIO aurait aussi mérité cette année, ne serait-ce que pour ce geste, le prix Nobel de la paix, parce que le CIO, la FIFA, sont des puissants vecteurs de paix partout dans le monde. Et donc, le fait que les réfugiés aient pu défiler sous la bannière du CIO, aient pu réaliser leur rêve de participer à cette grande fête universelle est extrêmement important. Et en même temps, on voit bien ce que peut apporter le sport du global au local. Il y avait à la fois la délégation olympique, donc au centre, et en même temps, chacun sait que dans les camps de réfugiés, la pratique du sport est un outil indispensable pour la reconstruction personnelle des gens qui ont été déracinés, des gens qui ont été persécutés. L'utilisation du sport peut permettre donc de reconstruire des sociétés, de reconstruire des individus, et merci à Peace and Sport d'être ce forum formidable où sportifs, académiques, politiques, responsables se rencontrent pour trouver des solutions et pour faire avancer la cause de la paix à travers le sport.
Merci Pascal. Pascal, venez vous installer ici. Je demanderai tout à l'heure à Oni Talidje de venir également avec nous. These are the bases. We love to hear Pascal because everything looks clear. This is things we're thinking of, but now we have to act. Maintenant, il faut agir. Et est-ce que le sport, justement, peut préserver la paix dans ces endroits-là? Et pour y répondre, pour avoir des pistes, justement, je vais appeler tout de suite quelqu'un qui a été le président de la Hongrie de 2010 à 2012, qui a été également olympien et champion olympique, vous le savez, membre du comité international olympique, également head of the Europe for Diplomacy Group, is here with us, Mr. Paul Schmidt. Merci d'être là, Paul. It's an honor, as always, to welcome you. I will give you one mic, and you will be moderating this round table, because we need to find solution, as Pascal said.
Yes, I am surrounded by excellent speakers.
Very close.
I am surrounded by, you know what, I go there.
Yes, you take the floor from there, and like this you start, and then after you will bring the panelists. Thank you.
I have to speak here because I am the chair of this panel. Beg your pardon. Serene Highness, Mr. Founder, President Joël Bouzou. If I say Serene Highness, I could say Prince, and I could say my friend, because we are friends since more than 30 years. Sorry, consuming time, but I have to say that we were in the very first athletes commission in the IOC, 2 athletes, participating several Olympic Games in winter and summer games. We were together fighting for preservation or protecting the nature through sport. Serene Highness is the chair now for the committee in the International Olympic Committee for Sustainable Development and Protecting the Nature. And yes, we were representing the athletes in front of the whole world. And now I am honored on your side, Serene Highness, but now we're fighting for peace, which is perhaps the most important and most difficult task. Congratulations to you, and thank you that you invited me in all the 9 editions of this Sport and Peace Forum here in Monaco, in your beautiful country. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to say some words about why I am here. Not because I am an Olympian or I was head of state for a while, but because recently I was asked the European Commission to chair a high-level advisory group. What can be done with sport if we speak about diplomacy? Of course, like any other country, the European Union has certain basic rules what they can achieve in the diplomacy. It says, preserve peace and strengthen international security, promote international cooperation, and develop and consolidate democracy, the rule of law, respect for human rights and fundamental freedom. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is the basic aim, and we realize that sport, in his particular and modest way, can contribute to the aim of this diplomacy. Previously, when we spoke about sport in the European Union, unfortunately, they approached the whole issue on the negative connotation. May I quote some of this? Doping, match fixing, money laundering, corruption, racism, xenophobia, violence, hooliganism, child exploitation, and other negative effects of different player transfer. But now, there is a change of the paradigm, and now European Union and the whole world start to realize that sport is more and more important. This new approach to sport as a diplomatic tool emphasizes the positive values of sport and their impact in building more cohesive society, fueling education, economy, culture, and employment, improving health, and shaping a better world through nurturing dialogue, development, and peace. So I was very happy that I could give some advice together with my colleagues in that group to the Commissioner Navracic, how they can use sport as a diplomatic tool in reaching their diplomatic purposes. Ladies and gentlemen, now allow me to another quote, which is important. It has happened this year in the United Nations. Not the first time, but the United Nations adopted a resolution in the General Assembly saying, I quote some of this, building a peaceful and better world through sport and the Olympic ideal, in which the Assembly, I mean the General Assembly, recognized the valuable contribution of sport in promoting education, development, peace, cooperation, solidarity, fairness, social inclusion, and health at the local, regional, and international level. It's extremely important and noted sport can contribute to an atmosphere of tolerance and understanding among peoples and nations. It has been, of course, it has been declared and adopted with the purpose that during the Olympic Games, mainly the Olympic Games, let it be truce, there will be peace. But the purpose is not only during the 16 days, but always 365 days, there should be peace on the world. So, ladies and gentlemen, now allow me to call up on the stage the panelists. May I ask Afarin Shadizadeh Gudarzi from Iran to the stage. I am not going to introduce them because when I give them the floor, they will say something about themselves. I think this is the best approach. May I ask Thomas Welkert, the president of the International Table Tennis Federation. Nehmen Sie Platz, bitte schön, Herr Präsident. And Juan Carlos Sanz Borgo, Venezuela, professor. And last but not least, Mr. Mohamed Hamzab.
Welcome.
President of the International Center for Sport Security.
Please, sir. Here, if you can, Mohamed, if you can sit here. Yeah, please, thank you. This is your mic, Bon. Thank you. After the panelists will have debated, then we have Honi Talije, football from Palestine, who will try to summarize and also give a point of view.
So we will start with our lady panelist. Welcome. And I give you the floor with a question that what is the role of sport play? Could you play in the conflict zones? And how you organized a football match at that time between Bosnia and the Blue Helmets at the height of the war over there. Please take the floor, introduce yourself, and then.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Monseigneur, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor to be here in this forum for sports and peace, which go hand to hand together. And I'm here to talk about one of the achievements of the peacekeeping operation in the war in the former Yugoslavia, the UNPROFOR, the peacekeepers. In 1992, the war started. Maybe I should put a bit of setting, so for those who are very young and may not know about this war, to get to know what I'm talking about. This football match took place on the 20th of March, 1994, so that means after nearly 2 years of Sarajevo being under siege, and this is the Bosnian Muslims that are under siege in their own city. Their movements is restricted in their own city. I don't know if you have been to Sarajevo. Sarajevo is surrounded by mountains, so on the mountains you had the Bosnian Serb paramilitaries with snipers. So there was this sense of insecurity, daily insecurity for people of Sarajevo, and then the feeling that if it's not today, maybe tomorrow, there is something happening that they will not be able even to be alive. So there was all these death threat, daily death threat as well. And this match was on 20th March again, 1994, just 1 month after the big explosion in the Sarajevo market, where people used to get together somehow to get to know what are the latest news about the war. And then there was this explosion, deadly explosion, with 68 people who died and more than 150 people who were injured. So you can imagine how low the morale had gone down. And you could see not only the adults, but even the young people. They did not have any prospects for their future. And the only thing they were doing mainly was digging to bury the deads, because the snipers, they were just, ad hoc. Even I was, many times I had to walk without my head moving, because then they would think you wanted to spot them and they would just shoot you. So the idea was, what should UN do in such a moment? Should we leave these people to have the morale going down and down? And then the only thing was, this is a sports city. So, and especially the stadium was a stadium that was built for the Olympics, but the walls had been burnt down. There was no grass anymore. So maybe we should bring the identity of this city back on the stage. Maybe we should, through that, try to give these people their identity, again, this feeling that they are united and they are so. We decided that we can maybe have a football match between the Sarajevo team and the UN team. Let's say the peacekeepers, who were not really football players, but they all played quite well, because there was no way, of course, to bring the paramilitary, the Serbs, back. So this is the team. They are wearing their pink shirts. This is the color of the Sarajevo team. Some of them were professionals, but most of them were the young people who had to practice. They were happy to be trained again, to go to the fields next to their neighborhood to practice. And this brought some sort of hope even for those who did not take part in this match. They went themselves to help to bring the ball, to say, yes, you have to work here, there, I bring my son to. So this created some sort of unity and maybe thinking about future. Yes, we have to win. And I must say, it is normal that during a war, this revenge, the sentiment or the feeling of revenge comes up when people see that their own people are being killed. But then instead of giving this feeling of revenge to these boys that all had, instead of letting them get a weapon and do something that they would regret all their lives, we gave them the ball. And so they came onto the football pit, which was, again, full of mud. But then there, with all their energy, they got rid of this bad energy, the negative energy, the sense of revenge. And that revenge maybe came out in the match, because they won the match against UN 4-0. And they were so proud. They were, again, had this identity. And I must say, the whole idea, again, was not the football match, was to bring some sort of good feeling, and at least some feeling that life is normal again for these people. And it was not only 90-minute match, it was 4-hour show. So we had music, we had fanfare, we had even UN paratroopers landing down in the.
As far as I know, you have a video about this.
Yes, I will
Can
show
you
the
show
video,
us,
but then
because-
again, I must say, this was not without any risk for the UN, because 15,000 people came to see this match. So there was there were NATO planes all the time whirling over the stadium. There were really UN troops all over Sarajevo, and on what was left of the burned down walls, to make sure that the security was kept, and of course the Serbs had got the very strong warning from the UN that any provocation would be responded in a very serious manner. So because of the time, there will be a short video when they do their fourth goal, and you can see the cheering, how happy these people were. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Afet.
Odličan prodor po desnoj strani Šopovića, zaustavlja ga Muz. Griješi Muz, Pita. Drakovac. Adžem. Out za Sarajevo. Milavica. Pita. Milavica. Centar šut Adžema. Na desnoj strani se nalazi Dodik Mario. Prilika i 4:0. 4:0 za Sarajevo. Lijep prodor, evo vidimo Milavice u 16-tercu. Dobra kombinacija. I Dženan Aldin postiže svoj drugi pogodak. Da podsjetimo.
Thank you very much. No, thank you very much, and congratulations, even it was more than 20 years ago. Now I turn to the president of the International Ping Pong Table Tennis Association, and my question is natural question: how can a sport federation can play an important role fostering sport diplomacy?
Thank you, Paul, and thank you for inviting me, Serene Highness and Joël. Thank you very much. Merci bien. Before I have to talk, better to see a video, then you have an imagination how my federation and, of course, other federations can do something in diplomacy. Please, the video.
ITTF has a long history of using table tennis as a vehicle for social change and facilitating sustainable peace. Projects such as ping pong diplomacy, uniting the triumphant Korean team at the 1991 World Championships, being the first sport to re-enter Afghanistan post-war, to more recently working with UNHCR in refugee camps in Yemen. The ITTF development program annually conducts around 100 courses worldwide.
With the Peace and Sport Cup 2011 in Qatar, the ITTF has once again cemented their role as one of the forerunners in issues such as integration and peaceful dialogue between nations. Alongside the enjoyment and fun of playing the sport itself, tolerance and understanding between nations is at the heart of the ping pong diplomacy. The visit of the US table tennis team to China in 1971 played a major part in improving relations between the two countries.
We have shared the vision that sport is a tool for peace, and we share that vision with both ITTF and Qatar. And this is why we have this competition here, 40 years after the ping pong diplomacy is starting again.
I'm very happy I'm part of it. I'm here, and we have now 10 nations participating. These nations maybe have some political or some diplomatic problems with each other, but here they are playing like brothers, like friends, like sisters.
It's a new diplomatic tool. We are inaugurating today, and I hope it will develop and we will structure it.
For instance, do a big support to one project from Uganda from last year, and we'll provide more tables and rackets and some small financial assistance as well.
That side where I'm teaching in Kijonjomi, it's a place that is mixed with people from different backgrounds. All these people have their differences. sometimes they break even walls and start fighting against each other. Now, if I use the sport and I show that Mluru can play with Munyoro on the same table, then it will be bringing them together.
You are not changing the world, but you are helping to change a small community, and that's more than enough.
The gesture and the symbol, what sport can do, was fantastic. And I immediately reported Ban Ki-moon, and it was so great that he honored us to shake hands to everybody.
Popular.
Universal.
Inclusive.
Come, join us, play table tennis. Okay, play table tennis, but also other sports. Yeah, let me explain. I think we have in the IFs 3 possibilities in 3 areas where we can work. First is, let's say, the direct actions. For ITTF, for example, we, as the first association, we recognize Kosovo as a nation, like IOC did. Later on, now South Sudan. You didn't see in the film, of course. The second thing is spread a message. You can see some messages. First of all, everybody knows the ping-pong diplomacy. 1971, the visit of the US national team in China, and this was a great message, that a symbol for working together, not to be enemies, but to play with each other. Or in 1991, we have a common Korean team at the World Championships. This is also important, that you have divided countries, like we have also in Germany, that you come together and try to play and not to fight. And the third point, I think, is the direct action on the field. You saw some action, latest in Uganda, but before, in 2011, 2012, we have a project, Burundi, Congo. 2 villages on the side of Burundi, 2 villages Congo. They were, let's say, enemies. They fight against each other. Now we try to get together them, and that they have a structure, that they have school, breakfast. Then table tennis, of course, a regular structure every day, that the children, the young, they see we are normal people. Why we are fighting together? And this is what we can do. I think the most important, what IFs, international federations, can do is education with the youngest we have. And education. We will not win the fight against war if we have weapons, but with education. And we see the success also in Uganda. We have some projects in other parts of the world. Some of them you saw there. And I think we are quite successful in this way. And also, we have messages from these countries, from Burundi, Congo, that now they live, let's say, a normal life. And they have started and begun this with table tennis. And of course, it's not only table tennis, it can be football, judo, or every sport.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's nice to see that not only football, because wherever we see any videos about abandoned children or children in need in every part of the world, we see football. But now ping pong is another. And I have seen in refugee camp that judoka was there with coaches, etc. So I invite all the sports that they can copy this. There is no copyright. You helped us. What are the ways and means to approach this?
I think ITTF is a long-term partner of peace and sport, and we had many projects, and we will go on. And I think the next project, for sure, for us, will be a project with refugees. Yeah. Maybe we plan at the Turkish border, Turkish-Syria. We are not sure. We are not so easy, of course, if you have these regions, but we try, or we have to try at least.
Thank you very much. Thank you indeed. Now I turn to Professor Juan Carlos Sainz Borgo. He's from Venezuela. He's a professor, degree from Oxford University, but he is a dean of the University in the Cooperation Affairs Peace, University for Peace in Costa Rica. So I tried to introduce you, but go on. And I am very much interested how you develop the approach for teaching sport and peace for the pupils.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, Your Highness, Mr. President. Well, thank you very much for the space. Thank you very much for the foundation to be here. I have changed my talk like 3 or 4 times since I arrived here in Monaco, because I keep listening to things and learning and evaluating. But perhaps 2 little conversations that I had in my transfer from the airport to here and last night really changed some of my approaches. Because, for example, I arrived here because we were with the University for Peace in Ethiopia in a training with the African Union, empowering women in topics related to disarmament. And I was sharing with the colleagues in the transfer. I said, you know, I'm coming from the African Union, and et cetera, et cetera. And they say, the African Union of football? No, not football. The African Union, the political organization. I'm sorry, I do not do politics. I do sports. And I was quite surprised. Like, you know, he caught me in the idea that, you know, sports in one side and politics in the other. And last night during the dinner, the same issue repeat. No, I do not do politics, I do sports. And I was quite surprised how some of the people who are here that are, you know, convinced of the idea of sport diplomacy draw a line of, you know, politics is something and sport is something. So really start to evaluate my talk in the sense, what are we talking about when we talk about sport diplomacy? We know about diplomacy, we support, but we don't know what that means. And that's why I apologize as a professor that, you know, we tend to take the reality in that sense. What is peace to begin with? I mean, peace at the end of the Second World War was just the silence of the rifle, of the cannons, but that's not relevant anymore. As Mr. Lenke explained last night, peace today is the Sustainable Development Goals. These are 17 goals that the international community has approved that is what we need to build peace, from gender equality to sustainable development to partnership to peace. So it's an extremely complex agenda that we need to deal as the international community. So where we can put sport diplomacy? Pascal, before defining it as a soft power, I would like to take perhaps another definition. We professors would like to change the theoretical frameworks. I'm sorry about that. You know, we can locate sport diplomacy as was defined as a second-track diplomacy. First-track diplomacy is the diplomacy made by ambassadors, presidents, heads of the states, and second-track diplomacy is this soft power that allows certain objectives of the international community to be achieved in cooperation with the first-track diplomacy. However, as our chairman explained at the beginning, and I explained before, sport has many complicated connotations for the politicians. There are, you know, dumping issues, there are many negative connotations, but also for the sports people, for the Olympians, these issues with politics are very complicated. So what we need to do before is to educate these constituencies how to work together. We really don't know how to work together, with very important exceptions. Your Highness, you are one of the big exceptions in the sense of how to work together, because we have some clear objective what we want to do, but we have not developed the tools to put this machinery to work together. We know examples, the football game that we mentioned before, the ping-pong diplomacy, but they are pictures that happens, and then, you know, when you ask what happened afterwards, what's the follow-up? Can you really work on the sustainability of that activity? And then, you know, we start to think, no, that's not that simple. And I would say that perhaps the most important example ever made in terms of sport diplomacy happened in Rio. The refugee team is perhaps the most important denounce ever made in international history. I mean, in the Olympic Games, a team of people without a national flag. That's a huge denounce. I mean, for everyone that, is the whole world frozen, seeing, group of people with a national flag discovering small countries around the world, suddenly a group of people without a national flag. What that means? What are we transmitting to these millions of people? We are not very sure about it. We transmit a message. We know it was a huge denounce to the government, but what are we now doing with this? I'm pretty sure that the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, UNHCR, they're still trying to evaluate what happened, because the whole world is covered in a very strange results. I mean, the case of the swimmer from Syria, that nobody cares if she got a medal or no, she was the winner. And we're still working on these issues. We know that we wake up many sensibilities. We know that we have done many things, but with this huge effort of the sports community, we have not been able to achieve something on the side of the government. So, if you ask me what should be our contribution is, we need to develop the tools to construct trust between these two groups and to learn how to work together. We know the power that we have together, but we need to unleash completely this sport diplomacy and make work as a cooperation machine, that this true track diplomacy can work efficiently together. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's very interesting to have a university which is University for Peace, Peace University. What kind of students are there? Who are the students? What they are doing there? What they learn? Just in a short way, could you introduce something about your university?
Yes, the University for Peace was created by the General Assembly of the United Nations 36 years ago, and we have two types of students. The students who go to Costa Rica to study three big areas: peace studies, where we study gender, peace studies, peace education, law, human rights and settlement of dispute, and sustainability on the environment. We have master's and doctorate degrees there. And this group is very small. We have 150 students this year from 49 different nationalities. You can imagine 150 people of 49 different nationalities is really the UN. And the group, and the other big constituency that we have is our training programs all around the world. And in that sense, we are part of the UN family. We try to work with the governments and the UN agencies.
Thank you very much. Now, the last but not least, Mr. Mohamed Hanzab, who is the president of the International Center of Sport Security. It is an organization he established more than 6 years ago, and a very successful one. So could you introduce yourself, this organization? And my question is, how can you contribute, or perhaps in your country, or generally speaking, how can we use the use of the word, sporting word, to contribute to the peace and diplomacy?
Thank you, Mr. Schmidt and Your Highness. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a privilege to be here with you today. It's an honor to take part in this important platform, this important event, which fits very well with what we are doing as a not-for-profit organization. I am the founder and the chairman of the International Center for Sport Security. It's an idea, I thought about it 6 years ago. I retired from the Air Force. I have a military background, so I understand what war means. And now I have been engaged, trying my best as a human being to contribute at a global level to really use sport as an instrument, to hopefully contribute, as you mentioned, not only solution, but contribute and complement other efforts which being done at institutional level or civil society. Well, what we have really, during our journey, we have developed a program called Save the Dream. It's a program which is not for profit again. It's a movement where we have ambassadors, athletes, we have projects around the world. Is really to use sport as a tool for diplomacy and to break down barriers. And yes, Mandela is right when he said sport has a power, but how to put this into reality, that's a big question. And sport is a common language, but if we don't realize now that the division is really big, is really wide. It used to be between the East and the West. But lately, 2016, it is even in the West, the division is wide. We've got to really realize this. And we've got to see the reality and talk to the people. Before, the division is within a nation. Between two countries, there is a conflict. And there is a diplomacy which was successful, as mentioned by the ping pong diplomacy, and you said athletes are remembered. No, also politicians are remembered who have great vision, like Henry Kissinger. Henry Kissinger, he used ping pong diplomacy, and he continued to do this even to bring the World Cup '94 to the United States. Also, Nelson Mandela, it is a commitment, it's belief, it is goodwill to do it for the human being. So we have to really see where we are now after 60 years from World War II. Our grandfather, they didn't have that much of resources. They didn't have this digital era, but they have succeeded to plant a seed, which we now benefit from. Institutions like United Nations and all the other entities, NGOs and others. Sport federations also has evolved. Sport itself become a big, big business. If we have done a study with Harvard, sport business, only football, $33 billion. Premier League TV right, £10 billion. Olympic event, World Cup event, they make $10 billion. So the money is there. The platform is there. So why we are not connected at national level and even at a global level? It's a real issue. So we use this Save the Dream, and if you allow me to show the video, it's 3 minutes video, and then if you allow me to comment afterwards. Thank you.
Sports are a great builder of self-confidence, social and physical skills, but they are also a powerful force for education, equality, fairness, and participation, all of them key human rights principles.
The value of sport in advancing peace, development, and respect for human rights is undisputed.
Sport is a formidable force for change. Its values of tolerance and respect can unite, motivate, and inspire youth and communities across the globe. It can act as a catalyst for peace and social inclusion. With this vision in mind, 4 years ago, the International Centre for Sports Security, in partnership with the Qatar Olympic Committee and the support of Ooredoo, their technology partner, launched Save the Dream. Its mission: to empower youth and communities through sport, while promoting intercultural dialogue and social innovation through the power of its values. Save the Dream has appointed a team of high-profile ambassadors from around the world. Sporting icons who are helping to educate and promote the core values of sport for young people.
I believe that sport has incredible power as a developer of human potential. Every single individual that's on this planet is here for a special purpose.
La motivazione reale della mia presenza si chiama appunto Save the Dream, un progetto che si propone di preservare un sogno che si chiama sport.
Save the Dream works with governments and leading international and civil society organizations to promote social transformation and educate young athletes and the youth of the world through the values of sport. And it strives to improve lives on the ground by providing sport programs to empower communities most in need. Save the Dream recruits volunteers to bring vital support in sporting camps that provide a welcome focus for children from disadvantaged areas. But sport can make a change only when its purity is preserved, when the human rights of young athletes and children dreaming of becoming champions in sport are protected. Save the Dream is actively engaged in programs which aim to protect youth from misconduct in sport, such as violence, corruption, and discrimination.
Every child has a right to play safely.
Sport has such a global appeal, it can also be part of the problem as well as the solution. The momentum is growing. Together, we can restore hope and opportunities through sport.
We need to save the dream.
Thank you. Thank you. Now I have only 2 minutes, and really I want to say I don't want in the beginning, but just to follow my advisors and looking at the notes on the film, but I don't want to act as a salesman for a project. Really, I want to express myself as a human being that we should realize, and one important thing said yesterday by the president for Peace and the founder of Peace and Sport, he said 2016 was tough on for humanity. It's not only tough. What scares me, that could be the beginning. And looking at the Brexit, looking at what's happening in the US election, the division is big. We have to really work really hard and to activate every positive instrument. And sport is the most powerful instrument. But we need not only one politician like Henry Kissinger. No, we need not only, Muhammad Ali Clay. In the last 50 years, we only have one guy who stand up for the humanity, one Muhammad Ali Clay, as an athlete. He speaks loud, and that's the legacy of Muhammad Ali or Nelson Mandela or Henry Kissinger. We need more people who can speak loud and close the gap. Otherwise, the gap gonna be wider and wider, and the danger is that there are certain group of people will leave us all, and it will become an institutional failure, which led to a flood of refugees now in Europe, which is suffering now, institutional failure at sport federations, because what we need as a solution is to have embedded, integrated approach where sport federation and the UN work very closely, and there has to be, from all this money made by sport, a contribution. If we make out of 33 billion, just 0.5% for peace development using sport, we could be successful. So Muhammad Ali is my example. We can really go forward, but we need more heroes. We have many celebrities in sport. They are so powerful. Cristiano Ronaldo have 40 million followers on Twitter. So powerful. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hands up. Because we have to care about timing, now I gave the responsibility to Mark. He's the best moderator in the city. So I please collect questions.
Yes, we'll have questions, and we try to instaurate also the debate. But before that, I would love to ask Honi Talije to come here. Under your applause, she's a football player from Palestine, and she's one of the champions for peace. Hello, Honi, again. And take the microphone. There is one. And just try to summarize what you heard, and if there are things yet you want, we go further.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. It's always a pleasure and honor for me to be here in Peace and Sport, and I wish that one day I come here and not talk about inequality, injustice, and we just talk about peace when it's really happening on the ground. As you know, what's happening in the world is really heartbreaking. We have a lot of racism, a lot of sexism, a lot of inequality, a lot of injustice, and a lot of discrimination happening around us. And why we are here? Because we are part of what matters. And because of this, we are gathering from different places in the world to talk about what matters, because we really care about what matters and what we can change in this world through sports. And then I say here, sports is faster than politics, definitely. And the examples we have had, the football matches, the refugees participating in the Olympics, it shows a great example that really sport is faster than politics. And here also the example of Palestine, where I come from. It has never been recognized by the United Nations, but FIFA, sports federations, recognized it in 1998. So now we are on the map as a federation recognized because of football, because of sports. So, and to summarize the 3 points that has been discussed already, we talked about integration. Integration is important to foster peace, to bring the people together. The example of the refugees is a great example. Last month, we were in Jordan for the FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup, and it was so difficult for the refugees from Al-Zatari camp and others to be integrated because they couldn't leave their camps. But football helped them to get out of their camps and go to the stadium and watch the games and be part of it even for a short while. Of course, it didn't solve their problems, it didn't solve their conflicts, but it gave them joy, joy that can give them hope later on. We talked about inclusion. Definitely in the word of inequality, there's a lot of differences among us. We care about differences, but we shouldn't. So sports in general bring all these differences together. No matter what is your race, what's your gender, what's your ethnicity, what's your color, at the end, sports can help bring us together to foster peace, justice, and definitely equality. And third, we talked about gender equality. And here is important because the balance is really important. If we look at our leaders in this world today, sorry, but they are mostly men. Male. And it's important that we have the balance to foster change, to bring people together. And also, sports help in that matter. Why? Because it gives women the right that they don't get it in the society, in politics, in different things. And I can say here I'm an example of that because I grew up in a very difficult circumstances, a lot of challenges, a lot of barriers, a lot of inequality. But football gave me the identity and the perception that through football I can empower myself, my country, my situation, and deliver a different message to the world. Not about violence or death or despair, but about hope, to bring change, to bring people together. And that's why we are all here, to bring that change and believe in what it really matters. And to conclude, it's just important how sports has this power to bring us all together and start with actions, start influencing decision makers, because it's really important not talk about it, but have actions, make actions, try to influence different societies all around the world, and specifically the politicians, the leaders who have the decision, because if they care, we can make a difference, and we stop caring about our ego, our credit, our differences, but we care about our similarities that can bring nice change to the world through sports that can bring justice and equality to all. And here I end my message that I hope that next year we come on the 10th anniversary where we celebrate justice and equality among all of us and in the world without, hopefully, a lot of problems.
I call her an ambassador. So good to hear this. Well, it's important to have the point of view of sports people, but what Honi said is something that we want to have for the future. Is that right?
Absolutely, and I am very happy that Hani is with us. She is a famous football player. Actually, she established the women's sport in Palestine, and so we're glad that you are ambassador, champion for peace as well. Now, I think it's time to have the
questions.
Some
exactly.
questions from
So you can ask the questions. So we'll take some from the floor, but we will have questions also made by the app. So I know some of you use the app. So if we can have the first question. Thank you, Serene Highness, who is leaving us for duty. And we'd love to start with the first maybe question from the app. Do we have one? Can we? Yes. How can the traditional diplomacy, Discover Like You platform becomes more inclusive so that younger generation can be motivated to participate and feel that their voice is heard? That's very, very interesting. Who wants to start to answer to that question? Who wants to start? The university, maybe. Juan Carlos. It was a great speech from your part. I know you have students who maybe ask that.
I beg your pardon.
Yes.
The answers has to be even shorter.
Yes, exactly.
Because I understand that the next panel is preparing and we have to care
totally
about the timing. Please, tenga la palabra.
Thank you. Gracias. how come open to new generations? You know, I once asked a top officer of the U.S. Department of State about the problem of sport diplomacy, and he told me he need to be genuine, he need to be truth. I mean, you cannot lie in sports. In that sense, I think that we need to teach the diplomatic world about this in order to open a space. In some Ministry of Foreign Affairs around the world, there are small little directions of sport diplomacy, very small ones. But what we need is really to empower that people and to train how to achieve the objective of this soft power and open the gates for young generations of diplomats that perhaps come from the athletic world, from the Olympian Games, and to participate and open these gates for young diplomacy in that sense.
Who else wants to add something? Pascal, if you want to say something, you just let us know. So maybe we can take a second question, maybe from also from the app, if we have still, I'm sure we have another one. Question from the app. What are the main challenges to build sport diplomacy in today's world? Paul?
I think I don't want to answer because they are the experts, but because I was heading this advisory body in the European Union, I think first you have to prepare the educator. You have to prepare all the diplomats that there exists a very special tool in their hand, sport, which doesn't know any barrier. Sport is international. Everybody understands the language of sport.
Exactly.
Therefore, they can use it because it's easy to speak about, easy to send ambassadors, easy to send champions, easy to make understanding, friendship through sport. So the first goal is to educate the real ambassador that they can use sport as their tool.
Mr. Weyer, yes.
Yes, and to add this is the same. You have to convince the politicians,
yes,
because the borders, we have no borders in sports, but we have borders in politics. And sometimes when we want to realize a project, we have these political borders, and this is the most important.
If they're coming as politicians, they think that they're using their powers for their own country, which is the problem. Sports sometimes has no country.
Yes, that's it. They think when we do a sports project, we are the same. We use some politics there, but we don't want to use politics. We want to play, let's say, and to get together.
Pascal?
Oui, bien sûr, il est important de mobiliser les ambassadeurs, les diplomaties, parce qu'il y avait un fossé auparavant entre diplomates et sportifs. Il y avait vraiment un fossé qui est en train de se réduire. Mais je crois, et c'est aussi pour cela que Peace and Sport est une organisation qui est très importante. Beaucoup de sportifs sont conscients de leur responsabilité, de leur notoriété, qui doit être mis au service d'une cause. Le problème est qu'ils sont souvent sursollicités, qu'ils ne savent pas si les gens qui viennent les voir sont des gens sincères ou s'il y a un agenda caché. Et c'est donc important d'avoir des associations comme Peace and Sport ou comme l'association de notre ami Qatari pour dire on certifie que là vous pouvez vous engager sans danger. Il n'y a pas un agenda caché, il n'y a pas une sorte de duperie. Ce que l'on fait est vraiment certifié. Et ces plateformes comme Peace and Sport sont vraiment importantes pour permettre aux sportifs de s'engager en toute confiance et de mettre leur notoriété extraordinaire au service de causes justes et nobles.
Well, we're fully confident to have no trap. That's the key of Pascal, having no trap in these decisions. Huh?
If I may add that we have excellent ambassadors. We have the ambassador for peace and sport. We have the champions for peace and sport. If you go home, please, bring home the message. Make a press conference, give an article, go to the domestic television and give an interview about the importance of sport and peace.
Yeah, it should
Therefore, it will be multiplied by 1,000 if you go home and you don't stop to be ambassador, but you start to be, as you said, part of what matters.
Exactly. So can we take one question maybe from the floor? I need questions. I don't need setup. I don't need just trying. Okay, I will take one mic from here and just come to you. One question here and we have another one there. Please. A short one. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for the great panel. I think
Can you name yourself, please?
Yes, I am Dike Hadzivstatheu,
and I am a professor in Olympic studies, Olympism in the UK. I am originally from Greece. The question is, sports diplomacy is a hybrid term, so it still hasn't reached maturity and fruition in terms of what exactly it means. So do the benefits outweigh the risks in mixing the two? What I'm asking is, Juan Carlos, what you said about education, I think that's a key point. There is a panacea from the government, and there are the Puritans of sport. So how can we ensure that sports diplomacy becomes a solid term with clear implications for application? Thank you.
Thank you.
Who want to answer? Yes, please.
Maybe I can.
It will be open.
Yes, it works?
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe I can just give you a few updates on what, at least at the UN level, we are doing to ensure that sports is included in diplomacy. We have now a special advisor to the Secretary General on Sports and Peace and Development. As was mentioned earlier, there are resolutions from the General Assembly and the UN Human Rights Council on sports and peace. So let's say diplomacy, what would be the role of sports in peace? And then, of course, if you have peace, you will have development, you will have the enjoyment of the human rights. So all of this is coming in, and it is getting into the international law, even the role of the sports in international law. Thank you.
Yes, Paul.
Is there any next question?
Yes, of course. There is another one.
Please.
Over there, we have one. Over there, we take two more.
Hi, thank you for the panel. My name is Yona, and I'm a 1500-meter athlete from Ireland. And I have been both involved as an athlete, but also an active member of my running club and university track team. And I was wondering, how do we keep young people in sport for long term? Because from being both an athlete and a member of the club, I've seen that a lot of young people are involved in sport, and they enjoy the benefits of the sport until they're about 18, and then they drop out of the sport, which is a real pity, because I believe that we need young people to stay in the sport so they can be advocates and influence future young generation to get involved in sport and get the benefits out of it. And I was just wondering if you had any comments to make regarding that question. Thank you.
It's special. It goes over the diplomatic way.
Yes.
Well, I would like to, mention something which is very important. Is we are addressing the young, and we are talking about the future. And one of the challenges is the e-sport. The way you are talking about physical sport, traditional sport, and use the sport as in diplomacy. Why one not also think and consider the e-sport, which is, as we go home, we see all our kids. And
it's
our
developing.
And they watch an event in the United States. Is growing very fast. 20,000 people attending e-sport competition. It's gonna be the future.
And a lot of money in the rights also.
And it has to be considered in this platform. And we have to consider it in our policy also, in our study. We are looking at this very closely. And also the policymakers, they have to look into the e-sport. It doesn't cost a lot, to be interconnected with the young generation, and you can influence them. You can send positive messages through that platform, and it can be a very powerful tool. Thank you.
This will be another debate. It goes over the sport, but you're right. It's something we have to take in consideration, especially for the message towards peace. Maybe they can be helping. One more here, and then we'll take another one, and that's it.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tariq Al-Salah. I'm the founder of Capoeira for Refugees, which works in the Middle East, Capoeira in refugee camps. I want to quote what you said, Hamid, about there's 30 billion for the for-profit sector actually earned by sports industry, and it's not reaching the civil society. I personally think this is the biggest gap, and it's the biggest topic actually of the whole conference. Why is the money not reaching there? There are some really good suggestions, of course. We know that there's a lot of corruption. There's a lot of, I'm writing a book about United Nonsense. There's good individuals working in bigger organizations like the UN, EU, and so forth. But like, it has to be coming from the governmental level at the end of the day to make the decision to influence the UN and making decisions and policies at the end of the day. There are some really good suggestions, like every NGO, I'm working in NGO, we have overheads. It's really hard actually to compete. We have to compete with, we want to hire a fundraiser, costs a lot of money. Our competition is the UN, our competition is the Save the Children, have a huge marketing budget. And I'm speaking for us, and I'm speaking for many, many, many grassroots organizations, even not that small anymore. I see the problem really is, let's say, I think also about solutions, of course. For example,
make it short, please.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
You could, for example, give or oblige if, I don't know, the EU gives money to UN to oblige them to give 30% always overheads to the next level, to the grassroots organization, because they are dying and they're very angry. And just want to see what is actually happening on the governmental level to influence that.
Shafarin, maybe? Yes.
I can take it. It's great to see that people think UN is rich. We are really in dire situation with all the issues that are around us in this world, and the money comes less and less because of the economic situation in the world. So all the donors, because not only you give what is your quota, but then some generous governments were giving voluntary funds, which is getting less and less. But then as we see around us, the problems get more and more. So we ourselves, we don't have money, and now UN is even developing a way, maybe not only getting funds from member states, but going to corporations, to private business to see if we can get some sort of clean money from that way. But then in my own institution, under my own supervision, we work with grassroots civil society organizations that deal with human rights in various places, in Nepal, in Cambodia, etc. And when there are projects, we do partner with their projects, and we provide the full funding for those projects. So again, there are, I think, some sort of maybe myth that UN is rich. We wish we were.
But we have to find tracks. We have to find tracks to find ways to get these funds, of course.
So, if there is no more question,
there is only one. There is
yeah.
one. There is one question here.
One more question, please.
No, here. You ask
yes, please.
Before, and that is the last one. Then after you can maybe speak during the pause. Yes.
Merci. Bonjour. Je suis Ango Isaac. Je suis champion de la paix. Je m'excuse auprès de Marc parce que ce n'est pas une question. Je voudrais rebondir sur beaucoup d'interventions du professeur Juan Carlos. La diplomatie du sport, pour la paix, c'est déjà deux acteurs, les politiciens et les figures du monde sportif.
Politicians and figures from the sports world.
Avec deux comportements différents dans l'approche de la mise en œuvre de cette paix-là.
Two different ways of behaving.
Lorsque les figures du monde sportif arrivent, c'est un passionné qui arrive, qui vient partager les valeurs du sport. Et lorsque le politicien, lui, il arrive, il vient d'abord avec une dizaine de journalistes, il vient avec maximum 200 €, il vient faire de la pub, et après, il n'y a pas de suivi.
The sportsman comes with passion, and the politician comes with 10 journalists plus 200 € to spend only, and only making his own publicity.
Alors, moi, mon souhait, c'est d'œuvrer déjà pour que ces politiciens-là puissent avoir un objectif, comme l'a dit Juan Carlos, il a bien dit, avoir des objectifs à atteindre. Et si nous avons tous les mêmes objectifs, voir ces enfants sortir de leur misère, je pense qu'on va atteindre ce niveau-là.
How can we have the same goal?
Et nous, avec Peace and Sport en Côte d'Ivoire, je pense qu'on a atteint en 9 ans de fabuleux résultats. Pour ceux qui ont connu l'opération judo et paix en Côte d'Ivoire, aujourd'hui nous avons des bacheliers, des champions d'Afrique et des personnes même qui ont participé aux derniers Jeux Olympiques grâce à Peace and Sport. Je pense que c'est ce que nous voulons ici faire partager.
This is we've been working on the ground, and with the help of Peace and Sport, we bring some judo players at the Olympic Games this way. Who wants to To have an answer, this is a global question, of course.
I can comment briefly. I think that even though I present these two theoretical approaches, first track diplomacy and second track diplomacy, I even that we need to update it. I mean, because when you were commenting today, the world is divided in borders, political borders, no doubt, but the world is divided between Real Madrid and Barça. The world is divided between Arsenal and Manchester. The world is divided between the New York Yankees and the Red Sox. And this is something that we need to take into the consideration, because how we deal with these actors and all the complexities in the Barça, for example, because they have UNICEF on the uniform and say that the UN is supporting them. We have a new border on the diplomacy that we are not even able to take it into the discussion with this massive amount of money that you described earlier. So we need to really update what we are doing, because actually we are missing the point in this moment, and it's quite clear, because the difference that we have in the debate makes clear that we are not targeting the right point.
You're totally right. As you were saying, there are two tracks. So the two tracks are not, they're parallel, but they're not joining together, no? Most of the time. Paul, it's time to conclude. Sorry.
Yes, thank you very much, Mark. So at the end, I would like to thank you for your valuable contribution. I would like to thank Joël Bouzou, who selected this item, which is very important. We speak about peace. We speak about peace and sport, but we need diplomacy. We have to help the politicians, the ambassadors, our champions, the athletes in the world, that they realize that we are important. We can change the world. And then, speaking about Joël, the president, allow us to express our thankfulness, because you have a fantastic asset in your hand, not only president of the Peace and Sport, but you are the president of the athletes of the world, the World Olympians Association. So you have 100,000 ambassadors. So go on, please. Ask all of them to be on our side, to be ambassador for peace. And finally, I would like, with your permission, because you mentioned twice Nelson Mandela, I would like to finish this panel with a quoting, and then we stand up and thank for the attention. Quote, "Sport have the power to change the world. It has the power to inspire, the power to unite people in a way that little else does. It speaks to youth in a language they understand. Sport can create hope where there was once only despair. It is more powerful than governments in breaking down racial barriers. It laughs in the face of all type of discrimination. Sport is the game of lovers." Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all of you. So please stand up. Thank you to the panelists. We make a picture together, so if you can be together. This is the first panel. Thank you to them. One more applause, and then we have a 15 minutes break. 15 minutes, no more. 15 minutes for coffee, and then we come back here to have legacy. And the legacy is one of the key points for this forum. So please come and talk with us about legacy. Then we have a lunch, and you will have different things this afternoon. There is at 4 o'clock, there is one very, very important diplomatic time. So be there. There will be also workshops. There will be another debate. And the awards tonight here in this room. Thank you very much for listening to us. Merci. Quick pause, and then we come back. Please be on time. Thank you.
About 10 days, they busted out, love in the air. We're all in search of the lion's share.